You know what? This is why I wanted to get you on, yeah, because a lot of things that you say, a lot of clips that I see resonate with me. Like, you see this your typical motivational speech, yeah? That shit don't motivate me, yeah? I'll be honest. There was a speech I remember about how much you want to succeed if you know, something to do with breathing. This guy called Eric Thomas.
Yeah.
That shit, I remember everyone was like, yeah, that's so motivational. It didn't hit me.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Andrew Tate call me a brokey, call me a fucking wagey. Actually, I'm not wagey, but I'd rather that shit motivates me.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing about the way I talk and the things I say. Some people find it inspirational, and some people are upset by it, and their ego prevents them from learning from it.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of people who are really genuinely upset by what I say are the kind of people who can't truly learn anything and become successful in life.
Yeah.
I obviously know what I'm talking about to some degree, right? So if Mike Tyson walks in here and tells you he's going to teach you how to box and says you can't fight, you're a pussy. If that upsets you, then you can't learn, right? It's Mike Tyson. Just shut up and listen. Yeah. If someone, Richard and me, comes along and says, Andrew, you don't know shit, you're a dumbass and you're a brokey, I'm going to sit there and go, okay, maybe I am a brokey, Elon. Tell me something, right? I'll listen. But if you're going to sit there and go, don't call me names that I not listen, you're never going to get anywhere, right? You don't become the master unless you're very, very good at being a student. And I've always been very, very good at knowing when to shut up. But I've got to a point in my life now where I don't have to shut up ever. So I don't.
How long would you say you were a student for? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm still a student of life, right? Nobody knows everything. And there's still a lot of people who I respect and will always respect and always am quiet around and treat with absolute respect. But I've been learning for a very, very long time. I've always been very, very observant, trying to pay a lot of attention. And life really doesn't have to be that complicated. When you see somebody that has something you want, you just got to try and work out how they got it.
Yeah.
And that's the missing part. Most people see people with things they want and they don't do the second half. They don't try and work out how they got that thing. Oh, my man has a Ferrari. Okay. I wish I had a Ferrari. Okay. They don't sit there and go for an hour. How did he get a Ferrari? It doesn't cross that part is the part they don't want to do, right? They just go, oh, he has a Ferrari. Wish I had a Ferrari. And they go back to TV.
Yeah.
And that's why they lose.
You know what? Here's where I want to start, yeah, because I feel like this point here is probably the point of which your whole life revolves around. Right, I want to say, in my opinion, and that's the Matrix. Yeah, I want you to kind of break that down and explain it, because obviously, I'm assuming you get the name from the film and the whole, what the film's about. But if you have to relate that to your life and life in general, what exactly is the Matrix?
When I talk about the Matrix, I'm talking about the systems which have been created by society, which are deliberately designed to enslave. In the movie, the Matrix were used for our body heat, but here in this Matrix, we're used for our efforts and our energies. And you're existing inside of a system which is deliberately rigged to make the rich richer and for the poor to stay poor.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and get upset about it. You can sit there and cry about it and say the system needs to change, which is what some people do, socialists, XYZ. But I know that's a waste of time, right? That's futile. The best thing to do is to understand the rules of the game and find a way to win. So yes, the game is rigged. Yes, the rich are always going to get richer. Yes, the poor are always going to struggle. And that's the way the game is set up. So you still need to find the best move on the chessboard. There's no point sitting there saying, I want to play a different game, because that's never going to happen. Because the people with the money are the people who have the control and they have the power. And why would they have the game set up any other way? Why would they change it? Right? Yeah. It's also the basic of economics. I think a lot of people don't understand the true basics of economics. And the basics of economics state that even giving money to the poor, it ends up back in the hands of the rich. There's no way to stop the rich getting richer. I've already explained this before, but I remember during COVID when they did the stimulus checks and they passed out all this free money to everyone, $1,000. In England, they gave a lot more money, but in America, everyone got like $1,400 each and everyone was happy about it, saying, oh, he's giving money to the poor. Yeah, but what do those poor people spend that money on? Amazon stock tripled because they all went to Amazon. So Jeff Bezos got richer, right? But the fact is that there's less companies than there are people. All those $1,400 checks amongst all those people at the bottom ended up in the hands of a few companies. And the rich got richer, and you can't stop it. Doesn't matter if those people invested their money. Doesn't matter if they bought stocks. Doesn't matter if they bought crypto. Doesn't matter if they bought a house, whatever. The people who have the assets and have the companies and have the control are always going to end up getting control of the currency, and they're always going to be richer. So that's kind of how it works. And it's getting worse and worse. It's have-nots and have-yachts.
I think it's all about being an opportunist, right? Because there's a lot of crypto people here right now. And I remember you was on your video or something. Crypto was at a point where it was like £3,000. So what's that, about $5,000? I want to say something like that. I think more or less everyone here bought some. Yeah. But the whole general public thought it was going to shit. Yeah. And the opportunity there, no one grabbed it.
Yeah, and that's another thing about opportunities, right? Because you have to be positioned to take advantage of opportunities. Yeah. It's like in chess, they say good moves come from good positions. It's true. You can't find a good move from a terrible position, right? If you're sitting at home with no money, it's hard to invest in Bitcoin at $1. It doesn't matter what it goes to, right? You got to be in a good position to take advantage of things. So you've always got to be in a position where You have a good network. You have good information. You have some kind of liquid money. You have the ability to survive without that money. You can take a risk. Like, it's hard to set yourself up. I'm in a position now where I'm in the NBA. I'm an NBA player. I can never go broke again. So it doesn't matter, right? Once you're in the NBA, I can throw $1 million at something. It doesn't matter if it works or not. So for me, it doesn't make a difference. And that's why it's so much easier. They always say the first million is the hardest, and they're completely right. Once you get to a certain point, you can gamble to a degree, right?
Well, doing my research and stuff, you haven't always been a multi-millionaire, yeah? I want to say probably near billionaire level or something like that. So when did you clock all of this? When did you find out this side of life?
I always knew that the Matrix existed, and I always knew that the traditional systems and
From
the
what age
traditional...
did you know?
Say again?
From what age did you know?
I always knew.
Okay.
I just knew. Even when I was going to school and they're sitting there going, you're not going to get a good job if you don't get good grades. I was the one sitting there going, you're a liar. Shut up. I just knew the teacher was lying. I knew school was bullshit. I knew college was bullshit. I knew university was a lie. I always knew it was a trick and a con. I didn't truly understand things to the level I understand them now. But I had an intrinsic understanding, and I think everybody does. If you're in a gas station and it's 3 a.m. and a Lambo pulls up and a guy gets out of it, you're thinking criminal, drug dealer, gangster. Yeah. You're not thinking, he has a uni degree. Because you're not going to think that. So when you see money, people don't even associate the money they see with university. But then they go, I want to make money, so I'm going to university. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So I think everybody knows that the system and the path they lay out for you is not a path that's going to lead to where you want to be. And I didn't know what the other path was, but that intrinsic distrust for the system and that distrust for the things they wanted me to do made me search for other avenues. And then I found them, right? And if you speak to the people who are richest, if you speak to the people you know, this is for everyone at home as well. If you speak to the people you know who have the most money and go up to them and say, hey, what made you rich? None of them say school. Do any of them say school made me rich? I got an A in GCSE. Like, who gives a shit? It's bullshit, right? So it's all indoctrination. So I knew it was indoctrination. And for that reason, I was always searching. And if you're searching, you're going to find.
Yeah.
So.
No, I always believe that as well. Growing up as well, I always thought that... Here was my theory. I've got a theory of business studies. A lot of people thought I was full of shit and stuff, yeah?
Yep.
But I want to kind of hear your opinion towards it.
Yep.
So I've done business studies in GCSE. In my opinion, the whole textbook, everything, the teacher, everything's full of shit.
Yep.
Yeah, literally, I feel like they overcomplicate it and confuse it on purpose because they don't want entrepreneurs, right? And they want people to be stuck in the system. People said I'm full of shit because of that.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, but they teach you things that the problem is as well, it's difficult because the way that humans work and the way that we've evolved as a species is that we don't really learn lessons unless they're learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I believe that unless a lesson has taught the hard way, you're not going to learn it. You can have so many near misses and people won't learn their lesson. Bro, you must know a guy who goes out there, nearly crashes his car, doesn't slow his ass down till he wrecks it.
Yeah.
Like, this is how people are, right? So you need that pain for the lesson to sting enough to really genuinely go inside of your mind. And it's the same with everything. It's the same with driving a car or business. Truthfully, if you want to learn a lesson about business, you're going to have to suffer at some point, right? So we always say that most people are not successful with their first companies, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I get that. The truth is there's a lot of people who make a lot of money with their first company, but they just spunk it, act an idiot, and it all blows up in their face. And that's how you get the discipline on your fourth company that when you have $3 million in the bank, you just leave it there. You know, and don't be done with it. So you need to go through some pain. You need to experience some negative things. You need to have to a degree some trauma to really even learn any lessons. So yeah, business studies. You're right. The book. That's not going to teach you anything about business. You need to get out there on the streets. You need to make mistakes. You need to suffer. You need to have the tax man knocking at your door. You got to deal with all that stuff so that you make sure it doesn't happen again. I really think that humans are stupid enough to only learn the hard way. That's kind of how it works.
Before we dive more deep into your story, firstly, we need like 20,000 likes on this video. Secondly, I want to ask you one last question before we dive deep into your life here. I Googled your net worth, right?
Okay.
And it says $30 million. Mm-hmm. How accurate is that? Because let me say before this, I see a $5 million Bugatti, and I'm like, maybe a guy with $30 million won't spend his money on a $5 million Bugatti. Don't make sense. So he's probably got some...
Yeah, you know what's actually, the saying, if you know what you have, you ain't got much, that is completely true.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue how much money I have. When I was broke, I knew exactly how much money I had. I had 117 pounds in the NatWest, and that was it. I'm poor, rent's paid, I ain't got nothing else. When I was broke, I knew exactly how much I had. But now I'm at a point where it gets really difficult to truly measure how much money I have because you have cash. Okay, that's easy. I have some crypto, which is constantly fluctuating. And then you have assets, and the price of the assets is constantly fluctuating. And then I have companies and income streams, which need to be valued. And how do you value them, right? They can be an 8 times multiplier in some circumstances, and others they'll be a 10 times multiplier.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult for me to put a value on it. If you were to say to me, how much money do I have in the bank? But then even then, because I've got to be careful what I say on this podcast. But even then, once you have a healthy respect for money, once you get past a certain amount of money, you don't need it in the bank. Like there's no point in me having 50M liquid in the bank. Why? What am I going to buy? You know, you're like, as long as you have whatever you have in the bank to run around the world with, you have enough. So you try and put that money to use, right? You buy assets, XYZ. So it's really difficult. I mean, I have my online school, which we'll talk about later, Hustlers University.
Yep.
That's already been valued. That was valued at 300